All right. Welcome into episode 4 of Podcast on D-Shot. This is a 20-year retrospective of Miller Park, since we're getting up on the year that 20-year anniversary of Miller Park. So I got J.R. Radcliffe from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and Adam Rygg from the blog Brewers Nation. So welcome in, guys.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's start with do you guys have any, we'll just open the floor, favorite personal moment or game experience that you can be like your first Brewers experience at Miller Park, or it can really be anything. So let's just kind of open the floor.
Go ahead, Adam. You go first.
Sure. Well, I'll give you one of each. My first experience at Miller Park was after years of cutting my fan teeth, so to speak, at County Stadium. The first time I walked into Miller Park, I thought, this looks really plastic and fake and weird. Like the yellows were really bright and the colors were like, it just seemed off to me for some reason. And it's just a completely different visual experience than walking into County Stadium used to be. So it has obviously grown on me over the last 2 decades. And I would rather not watch home games anywhere else as a Brewers fan. It really is a jewel of a ballpark. The roof has been phenomenal, as we all know, to guarantee baseball to be played, even to host other teams when they've needed to relocate because of weather, stuff like that over the years. So it really has been a great ballpark, and super happy to pay my slice of a percentage of a tax over the years to help fund the thing. So as far as a favorite moment, I actually worked as an usher at the ballpark for 6 seasons, I think 6 or 7 seasons. And I was working a section during the 2011 playoffs, and just to see and to feel and to be amongst the crowd when Nigel Morgan hit his walk-off, that just feeling that experience, and, not really, I'm trying to watch the crowd and do my job too. But to just be immersed in all of that in the moment is one of the coolest things I've experienced as a fan at the ballpark live.
So my first time, I did get to go to one of the first exhibition games in 2001. I was going to college out of state. We drove quite a ways that day just to check it out. My parents got me tickets as a gift. It's funny. I was just looking up information to try and remember. I don't remember a lot from that game. I remember Ben Sheets pitched. He had not yet made his debut officially with the Brewers. So that was kind of cool. I was excited about that. That's sort of a turning of the page. So Ben Sheets is probably before you'd call that wave of prospects that really changed Brewers history, but he was still an exciting prospect, kind of a sign of what was to come. I really thought they played the White Sox, but I realize now that the White Sox were the first game and the Red Sox were the second game. So I don't remember it that well. Brewers didn't win the game. It didn't matter. No one cared. But I remember being pretty thrilled watching the roof open and close. They used to do that after every game in the first couple of years. They played, I don't even remember the music, but it's music I associate with Star Wars, but that's not what it was. But it was quite the spectacle. It got very cold in there very fast as the April or March winds rushed in once the roof was open. So that was very cool. I remember being, just stoked. Obviously, I went to a lot of games at County Stadium, and I didn't love it. Wasn't a great, as a kid, it was just like, this place sucks. It's cold, and it's okay as a stadium because it's the place where the Brewers play, but Brewers never won. It wasn't a special place to me. So Miller Park was obviously very different. The game I remember forever is the 2008 season finale, and obviously that game that Adam brought up in 2011 is probably the game you're talking about if you're talking about the biggest or greatest game at Miller Park. But 2008 is right there too. The game where Ben Sheets hits Ryan Braun hits the home run. Ben Sheets couldn't hit a home run if he had 100 chances with a batting practice fastball. But Ryan Braun hits that iconic home run in the 8th. CC Sabathia finishes it out. I was working for not for the Journal Sentinel at that point, not covering the game for them anyway at that point. And I remember covering it for a news service, and just how crazy it was in the press box, and trying to temper, having that journalistic neutrality and balancing that with sort of the momentous nature of a team snapping a 26-year drought going to the playoffs and how big that was, and the stages of that. You had the Helms home run, you had the Braun home run, you had the final out, you had the Mets officially losing to give the Brewers that playoff spot. There was just a lot going on in stages, a lot of action on the field, in the clubhouse. Very, very cool moment. And definitely something I'll remember forever.
All right, so mine, I'm gonna tie in Wes Helms to my I guess it might have been my first. I have no idea. I only went to County Stadium once. But my first time at Miller Park was actually my elementary school got to sing the national anthem 1 or 2 years. I remember 2003. It was a 12-3 Brewers win over the Cincinnati Reds. And Wes Helms hit a grand slam that's going to be important to this story. But the neat thing looking back on it, my grandpa was a Cubs fan. I'm actually sitting in the kitchen that he would eat at. But he would often listen to the Cubs games on the radio with Ron Santo calling them. And the neat thing looking back at that was my grandpa passed away in 2013, and he actually got to go to Miller Park once. So singing the national anthem there, and this is how it's going to tie on to Wes Helms and why Wes Helms is important in this. So my I don't know if you guys as kids ever got to have people come into your school and do like these like assemblies to do like fundraising and stuff.
Yeah.
And this one was like magazines or whatever. And my dad's school in Racine, he taught 35 years as a music teacher. We both had the same fundraiser, dude. And this magazine thing, if you sold enough magazine subscriptions, you get to go to Miller Park for a day game, and ditch school for like a day. And this guy says to everybody in this assembly, I have a box of gobstoppers for whoever can name who had the grand slams for the Brewers in 2003. So I instantly raised my hand and I said Wes Helms, because it was the game that we sang the national anthem at. And then the other guy that hit a grand slam that year was John Vanderwall. And I just happened to have whatever game that Vanderwall hit the home run, the grand slam in. And so I got a box of gobstoppers for randomly remembering who hit those grand slams. So that's kind of one of my favorite game experiences at Miller Park.
John Vanderwall also has a walk-off home run with the Brewers, as does Helms. So 2003, what a time when those are the two names that bring to mind. That's a very different era of Brewers baseball.
All right. I guess we'll shift to offensive plays / performances, I guess, from either can be a team or an individual vantage point. What do you guys think is like the number one offensive player performance from either opposing team or just the Brewers in Miller Park history? What's on the list?
Go ahead, Adam. You got to take it, man.
Okay. If we're talking overall performers, which I don't think is what you asked, I'll definitely have to. Of course, Ryan Braun has done so much damage in his career. I would say, though, that guys like Prince Fielder and Richie Sexson, just the really big sluggers, have always been a fun time to watch. But as far as individual moments or individual plays, we could talk Prince Fielder walk off, the iconic stuff that everybody kind of knows. But
I'm just curious. Do you want me to go through my list and see if you guys agree or disagree?
We can do that, absolutely.
Okay.
But I'll just throw this out there first for sure. At the end of a very long day where there were many people around me grumbling about how long the game was taking, the Martin Maldonado walk-off home run on a Mother's Day. It was definitely a Sunday in May. Was it on Mother's Day, JR? I'm sure you remember.
I'm not sure that one was on Mother's Day. Manny Pena had a walk-off on Mother's Day, but that was at the end of May, I think. The 17-inning game.
It was definitely a May game, but it was just the relief felt by people, I think makes it stand out to me. And then some of the more things you wouldn't expect, like a Unieski Betancourt walk-off home run in extra innings, things like that. Just some of those moments you almost expect a Prince Fielder to come through. You almost expect a Ryan Braun to come through. That's what those guys do. That's why they got all the money and get all the fame. But those little individual plays from some of the less heralded Brewers over the years really stick out to me. And some of that's, more recent things in the playoff era, if you will, when these guys have been making the postseason. But those are the things that kind of stick in my mind as some of the stuff you wouldn't expect to happen, and the resultant jubilation, I guess, from the players. Just maybe they didn't expect Uni Betancourt to hit a walk-off homer either. So some of those reactions really make that kind of stuff stick to me.
All right, so I'm gonna go through what my list was. Start from the bottom. Started from the bottom. Now we're here. My seventh thing is Adam Dunn hits a home run out of the stadium. Number 6 is 2009 Josh Willingham. If you guys remember the two grand slams that he hit. 17 runs in a game by the Brewers. Chad Muller's cycle. Sean Green's 4 home runs in the game. I have Yelich second with his cycle. And here's what I'm going to have. If you guys want to guess the first, it also involves a game against the Reds.
Is it the Brandon Phillips?
No.
How about Bill Hall?
This one involves Bill Hall.
So I'm gonna guess
2006 Brewers against the Reds. They lost the game they beat the Reds 11-0 in this game. Lost the game 11-0 the next day.
Yeah.
JR, you want to guess this?
No, actually, I was going for a different Bill Hall moment. So finish your thought, and then I'll rip on Bill some more.
Bill Hall, Brady Clark, Damian Miller, Prince Fielder, and it's the 5 home runs in an inning. Mm-hmm. Is what I thought was the most impressive offensive play performance because you never see that anymore.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. But you mentioned Chad Muller's cycle, and that's part of, in my mind, the two. If we're going back to back crazy days in Miller Park history, it's definitely involving Muller's cycle. That game is won by a Bill Hall walk-off home run. Bill Hall, of course, had a stretch where he was unbelievable. 2006, he also hits the Mother's Day home run that everyone remembers with the pink bat. But back to 2004, he's got that game where Muller hits the cycle. They win on a walk-off. The following day, they rally back from down 11-0 to win the game on a Bill Hall's again at the plate. And instead of swinging away, they have him squeeze. He squeezes home the winning run to give the Brewers a ridiculous win. I think it was 11-0. It might have been 9-0, but it was definitely the biggest comeback in franchise history, one of the biggest in Major League Baseball history. And just to have that happen on back-to-back days was absolutely insane. And Bill Hall, for a while there, was about as exciting a player as the Brewers have had. Adam mentioned some of these guys that are a little bit under the radar. Bill Hall's it, man. Like he for a couple of years there, and the team tried to move him to center field and tried to keep him in the lineup as best they could. He didn't ultimately, have prolonged success, but there was a period there where you wanted nobody else at the plate with the game on the line. The guy was awesome.
I was gonna say, is there a 13-12 game with Aramis Ramirez
against Miami?
Yeah.
That was the first year they were known as the Miami Marlins. And the Brewers had totally thrown that game away. And then they were down a run when Ramirez hit the 2-run homer to win it just over the center field wall. Couldn't believe it. They stole it from the jaws of defeat. So, that was a pretty wild game. They've been in some crazy ones.
One of them, he's talking about jaws of defeat. Sean Markham, grand slam on 4th of July. Sticks out.
Yeah, talk about things you would expect. Absolutely.
And then they lose the game. You like to pull out some tough memories there. You got Sean Green, Josh Willingham, some of the great villains in Miller Park history. The Markham game is tough. They had that game.
Do we dare talk Adam Duvall being a Brewers killer or Scott Rowland being a Brewers killer? You can kind of keep on going.
Or Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah.
At least Scott Rowland might be a Hall of Famer. I'm sick of the guys that come into town and that do nothing anywhere else and just, pick the Brewers to death, Punch and Judy guys that just, a lot of Cardinals, a couple of Pirates on that list, but just the guys that just make you pull your hair out. Why is this guy beating us?
Jack Wilson had that reputation. I'm not sure Jack Wilson even hit that well against the Brewers overall, but he had that reputation of just being Johnny on the spot.
Absolutely. Jack Wilson. Hated that.
All right, so defensive plays. I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna have the same top two here. But I'll go from my top three. I say Unetski Bedencourt, the double play that hit Sergio Mitre in the back, and then he goes behind the back to Weeks, the fielder. Numerous home run robs from Keon Broxton, Braun doubling off a Marlin after a diving grab in that clinching game in 11. The two triple plays at Miller Park. And the one that no one's going to remember, but I somehow remember from watching the game, is Corey Hart robbing it might have been Victorino in 2007. The first year they had the beer pen thing in right field. Brewers took a lead on Prince Fielder, hitting a home run, and then Corey Hart perceived to he jumped over that or leapt over the wall and right field to take a home run away to kind of help get the Brewers a win in that miserable 2007 where you had a division lead for a long time. The Brewers choked it up to the Cubs.
Yeah, I'm with you on some of those top ones. The Carlos Gomez robbery of Joey Votto sticks out where
100%.
That's number one.
Yeah, Votto's like, show me the ball. It was Lorenzo Cain, wasn't it, who saved
Opening day.
Yeah, on opening day. Again, some of that's more recent, but I I wasn't as focused on the defense back at the early parts of Miller Park as I probably should have been. But yeah, anything that's a game saver is huge. The triple plays, like you mentioned, I definitely would have brought those up. But yeah, just some of that stuff, the rare stuff is always fun. Does pitching count as defense here, or are we just talking about plays in the field?
Where are you going with pitching?
Well, I mean, Ben Sheets' 18 strikeout
Absolutely.
game.
I had that as one of the memorable moments.
Okay.
Yeah, it can count.
Fair enough. And my favorite piece of trivia with that is then the next day the Braves were no hit by Randy Johnson. So it's always one of my favorite back-to-back moments.
I guess JR, you want to kind of say what your favorite defensive plays were?
Yeah, I first of all, I remember I was driving home from school to get back to Milwaukee, knew that Randy Johnson game was going on. Eddie Perez, I believe, former Brewer caught that game. And I was just trying to get home in time to see it. I remember that sequence of those days very, very well. But obviously the Carlos Gomez, multiple game-saving catches from Carlos Gomez. Keon Broxton saved the day against the Twins on 4th of July a couple of years ago for the penultimate out of the game. That's absolutely saved Corey Knebel from a blown save. The Lorenzo Cain play is amazing. It's got everything. It's got opening day, Josh Hader on the mound, a home run that would have
Matt LePay on the play-by-play call.
Yes. Oh, incredible. What a gift to have that announcer as like your plan B, but that's beside the point. But the fact that the home run would have taken it from a lead to a deficit, like there is a lot going on there. No, it would have just tied the game, but it's still, what a moment. I'm going to go off the board a little bit. Back in 2005, the Yankees came to town. The Brewers were not a great team. But the Yankees came to town in 2005, and actually all three games were close. I think they were all one-run games, but the Brewers won the first two of them. And in both of the first two, Derek Jeter was the last guy up at the plate. He could have, he represented the final out. And in one of them, he had a shot that Jeff Jenkins made a diving play on for the last out of the game. He was playing right field at the time, made a diving play toward the line. It wasn't, in the context of the Brewers, it wasn't that big a deal, but in the context of just that season of, taking 2 or 3 from the Yankees, it was a really fun sort of mini electric moment in the context of a season that was otherwise kind of forgettable. I remember listening to Dan Patrick the next day, after they'd taken the first 2, Dan Patrick talking about the Brewers and the Yankees, like, can you imagine if the Yankees get swept by the Brewers, and thinking like, it could happen. The Yankees won the 3rd game, but just having them there in Milwaukee, interleague play has been, or rather the Brewers have been part of the National League now for, at that point, 7 years. So you just didn't see New York in town that often, and having someone of Jeter's status being in the middle of that, Jeff Jenkins making a diving play, that That was a good time, but I'll never forget the Lorenzo Kane catch. To me, that's just when I think of Miller Park defensive plays, that's going to be number one for me, even with the go-go catches.
All right. So favorite funny moments / oddities. And I'm gonna throw a couple personal ones. So I was at a Brewers game. Um it was really hard to be at this Brewer game and see the numbers 7 and 6 in particular, because Whitewater had ended a 46 game winning streak that day. But somebody threw a paper airplane from the upper deck that landed on second base. And then one of my last semesters of school, one of my friends was at a Brewers game and he ran on the field.
Oh.
And he tried. There's a picture of you on USA Today of this guy's name's Zach Hudson. Both graduated high school the same year from Tremper. And he ran on the field in this game, got on USA Today, and he was like him saying hi to Ryan Braun on the field, and then trying to high five Carlos Gomez. So there are two personal ones in terms of my funny ones. But one of the funny ones one of the funny / oddities, I don't know if anybody remembers Craig Counsell in game 4 of the NLDS.
I do not remember anything about this.
Okay, so he pops Pat Burrows up to the plate in the 6th inning. He hits the roof, and every outfielder or infielder didn't know where the ball was, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Craig Counsell catches it, landing on his like rear end in game 4.
I do not remember that.
Yeah, that to me is like one of them that's like out of just what the heck just happened. So
that's a good pull. That's a good pull for sure.
So,
what do you got, Adam? You got any oddities?
Well, first, a quick aside on the airplane thing. I was working again as an usher on that game. I was 2 sections over from whence the airplane came, and the guy who was working the section was just staring at the field, watching the game, like, you know, you're not supposed to do as an usher. So he didn't see where it came from. I saw it corner my eye as it started to leave the terrace level, and I went over there, and I was, you know, basically trying to figure out who threw it. People were saying, oh, it was that guy. No, it was that guy. Oh, the person left, whatever. So nobody was really snitching, I guess. But it was frustrating in my role as in that position, because that's exactly the type of thing you're supposed to prevent. That beach balls, you know, things that might get to the field. So it was hilarious to watch it land in hindsight, and looking back on the moment, it was definitely something that I wish I could have just smiled more at the time. But yeah, I remember that crystal clear, and how for the next, I think, 2 weeks of home games, not that they were all in a row, but every time the pregame meeting was, make sure you're keeping your eyes on the stands. We don't want people to follow suit and make this a thing now at Miller Park where it's all these people, you know. So it was one of those things that definitely it sticks in the back of the mind. As far as other oddities, I mean, some of it's, you know, fan related. There were Cubs fans in games in general. My personal, if I can get a little gross, my personal worst experience at Miller Park is more of an oddity. It was an opening day. I was there with my friend who has since passed away. We're sitting up on terrace level third base side, and we were in front of this guy who was just sloshed, passed out. So he partied way too hard in the parking lot, continued it when he was in the stadium a little bit. He was with his girlfriend, and he was just completely passed out. Around the 5th inning or so, he wakes up and just explodes all over the back of my friend, splashes a little bit on my arm, which was disgusting. The girlfriend was so apologetic. She went and bought my friend a new shirt from the team store. Any player you want. Oh my God. But just some of that stuff, unfortunately, is part of the experience and the history that I remember at Miller Park. But not that it's Miller Park exclusive by any means, but it's, you know, things like that off the field. Some of the oddities on the field, I'll never forget Uni Esky Betancourt playing a deep shortstop, which was basically a shallow left field, because they didn't want him trying to field the ball because of how terrible he kind of was at doing that job.
Was that also kind of a Ron Ronicky thing? Or is Ron Ronicky the manager then? Because Ron Ronicky always did like the 5-man infield.
Yeah, it was a weird defensive alignment for sure. I wish I could remember who was up to the plate, but it was definitely obviously a pull hitter type to the left field side. But yeah, just some of that weird stuff. but yeah, not a whole lot of oddities on the field, I guess. But yeah, no, Miller Park's definitely had its fair share, and the Craig Counsell catch, that's something I'll have to look up because I don't remember that one.
I was gonna add in the Randall Simon hitting this racing sausage.
That was going to be my number one. That the absurdity. That was 2003, the year I'm an intern with the Brewers media relations department, and it's just that there's that famous Onion headline shortly after 9/11 where it's like nation longs to care about stupid BS again. That they don't abbreviate it to BS. And I think about that all the time, and especially now with the pandemic, nation longs for the time it can care about absolute meaningless crap again. And the Randall Simon thing was just a firestorm of stupidity. The fact that the police got involved and led him away, and they thought it was like it was just him like lowering his bat for a second, kind of being funny, hitting the racing sausage. The woman who was in the costume kind of became a mini celebrity for a while. Just a total weirdness, right?
Mm-hmm. The other thing about that, and I heard this from Drew Olson and Adam McCalvey, is they were both saying that they were filming parts of Mr. 3000 that same night.
Mm-hmm. That was that same year, you bet.
Yeah. I got a trivia question about that. You guys have to name the UW Whitewater connection the Mr. 3000.
I'm sure there was somebody who was among the extras in the stands.
It's not a stands thing.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to know it.
Okay, so UW Whitewater head baseball coach John Vodelinch. If you watch the movie, he has close-ups. He's an Astros catcher.
Cool. In
the movie, and so yeah, I actually got my copy of that movie signed by Vo because I didn't know it when I was in college, and then like I had asked a bunch of the baseball guys that I knew. I was like, "Oh, is this true?" Yeah. And then like I had that copy of that movie the whole time. It's like I had to go back to a conference tournament game just to get him to sign it.
I'll tell you, watching if I can interject, watching Mr. 3000 is like a time capsule of Miller Park. It's so early. The scoreboard is old. The walls are totally different. The outfield walls, so the signage. I mean, just looking at that snapshot, it's cool to have that visual snapshot of what the stadium used to look like to compare it to today. It's always been kind of a neat way to just, whenever that comes on TV, it's like, I even showed my kids one time. I was like, "Hey, look how different that is. That's Miller Park." I was like, "Yeah, that's how different. That's how many upgrades they've made over the years."
Miller Park was very green in the beginning, very, very green. And I remember a lot of the changes they made for Mr. 3000 stuck. The paint job in the press box, the paint job on the outfield wall. Some of that stuff was put into place for the movie, and then it ended up just sticking around for a while. It kind of gave the stadium its first facelift. I was there for some of the extra scenes. Mr. 3000, what a terrible movie. Just truly bad. Truly bad movie. I remember Bernie Mac coming in, rest in peace, Bernie Mac. He came and spoke to people, spoke to a lot of people during the whole week. I mean, it was an interesting thing seeing that, the little bit they did in Milwaukee. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough. It was interesting.
Yeah. I've always wondered if people think that's what the home clubhouse actually looked like back then.
That was in LA somewhere. Anyway,
them playing all the T-Rex Pennebaker video game or whatever it was.
Yes, very funny. I remember they shot a T-Rex Pennebaker scene between innings once, so they had to have him like walking to the plate. So between innings, fourth and fifth inning, let's say, they have T-Rex come out. He's on the scoreboard. Fans are supposed to cheer. It was very weird, very awkward. And as far as other oddities that I can recall, I mean, the sausage gate would be number one for me, but there's a game where Craig Counsell's solo home run of all people. Speaking of Craig Counsell, is the only run in a 1-0 game. That seems to be a bit of almost impossible when you see the number of home runs he hit in his career. The time Ryan Braun went for an inside the park home run, fell down rounding third base, and
then they proceeded to do the whole crime scene,
chalk outline.
Yeah, chalk outline.
Yep. That was a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. It was funny because they won. I mean, it could have been bad, I guess, but that was a good time. When Prince Fielder hit one of his 2 inside the park home runs. I mean,
the one that got stuck.
Yeah, got stuck in the wall. Alex Rios just chilling there, like held his arms up, like waiting for the umpire to tell him we're good. It's a double, but Prince Fielder has 2 inside the park home runs in his career. There is no greater statistic in Major League Baseball history that man has churned around the bases for 2 inside back-to-back years, no less. So that is certainly an oddity. And didn't didn't a parachutist like get stuck trying? I want to say the year the stadium opened, I want to say there was a parachutist who something went very, very wrong. And I don't remember the details, but I'll have to look that up. I'm pretty sure he missed his mark. He might have gotten hurt kind of badly. I don't know. I mean, not like life-threatening or anything, but something like that went wrong during the opening of Miller Park. I'm not sure if he was even supposed to be there. I think I don't know. I got to look it up.
Yeah, I believe I don't think he was supposed to. I think it was a publicity stunt that somebody decided to try to drop in. Yeah, I don't remember if he got hurt or not either, but I'm sure somebody roughed him up pretty good.
Yeah, something wasn't right there.
I'm gonna add. Oh, Adam.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna add these two other ones that are kind of game related. Orlando Arcia bunt double.
I know where the next one. What's going next?
You're gonna say that I'm going Gene Segura stealing first? Okay.
Absolutely.
Too good.
Just incredible.
And Jared, maybe you jog my memory. The Bob Uecker getting trapped in his booth.
Yes.
Having the ladder have to come out through the stands to have somebody climb in. That was crazy.
Absolutely amazing. You know, Bob Uecker, bless his heart, gets so many people who come to the game and just stare up into his box. I mean, he is such a celebrity. This is not a secret. People who come to the game just yelling at him the whole time, during the game, before the game. He's basically, it's like he's in a zoo. I feel bad for him a little bit. And then to be trapped up there with the door locked. Yeah, I think they had to change the locks on the door. Like, I think they had to completely reimagine how the door works so that never happens again. But yeah, they had to do a rescue mission. That's super funny. I forgot all about that.
Of course, does anybody have any stories about Bob Uecker in terms of sometimes you'll have guests in the booth and he'll do the cough button thing?
He's
I've never been in there for it, but yeah, we've definitely heard the stories.
Okay. Trying to think. I have Niger Morgan's antics and beast mode as a random one.
Yeah, that kind of stuff was fun because the fans, especially on social media, they were just like, "What does this mean? We don't understand." And it was something that the team, and there was other stuff throughout the years, even the Show Me Love thing that Lorenzo did more recently. Some of that stuff is like all the fans are clamoring to know what it means, and the players are really trying to have something for themselves. And eventually, it comes out, and then everybody picks up on it and runs with it and has fun. But I think it's neat when you see the chemistry that these teams have had, especially in the Craig Counsell years. But the chemistry these teams have had to just have some of that stuff organically develop and a way to just keep them tied together on the field. It's really, I think, made a difference on the field as far as the play, the results. Anytime you've got talented guys all pulling on the same end of the rope, it typically leads to good results.
Okay, so I got two more involving pitchers in terms of oddities. Ivani Gallardo walk-off hit.
Okay, he was a good hitter though.
He had to pitch the next day. And then Jordan Lyles scored in a game-winning run.
Oh yeah, after the walk, right?
Yep, with like 2 out.
One of the least probable walk-offs in Brewers history, if not the most improbable. That was because it required hits with 2 outs. First of all, 2 outs, Jordan Lyles batting, not being retired. The guy had just blown away Ryan Braun. I forget the Pirates pitcher's name, but he had blown away Ryan Braun. And then Jordan Lyles comes up, draws the walk, gets to second base because of I don't remember how, but Eric Kratz winds up driving in a tying run. And with the threat of them needing to go into their rotation, next day's starting pitcher, Ulyss Chacin, was going to be the guy warming up if they had to extend that game into the 14th inning. Orlando Arcia hits a shot, and Jordan Lyles has to motor around second to score. Like, it's all on the line there at that moment. That was just an unbelievable walk-off. What a 2018, man. That was such a fun year. I mean, 2011 was obviously good for Brewers fans to have sort of, by the end, they were kind of running away with the NL Central title, but 2018 was just incredible all the way through. There were so many moments. Comes down, of course, to game 163. Like, you could make a list of 100 great moments from that season, and you wouldn't be scraping the bottom of the barrel. It was just a great time.
All right. So before we go to memorable, do we dare go to painful?
I think you just covered painful when you were talking about Sean Green and Josh Willingham.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of the painful ones. Yeah, the Brewers have had their hearts broken a few times in that building, and there have been some early on, as JR mentioned, some terrible teams. losing 100 games is nobody's picnic.
Mhm.
I was gonna say
Probably the worst is 2007. You mentioned 07. Sorry, 2017. When 07 had some rough ones too, but 2017 is probably the worst, where the Cubs come in and win those tight games, and you had the Travis Shaw home run to stave off a third heartbreaking loss in extras. But then the Cubs take 3 of 4, really put them behind the 8 ball. They end up missing the playoffs by a game. That's probably the worst, only because they weren't in a lot of races. So that's probably the one that really the hardest one to swallow.
I would say 2014 is one that kind of is a hard one to swallow too. I was a intern at WSSP in Milwaukee to help out with the Brewers post-game shows with Tim Allen and Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. And I remember one night we were just like, Brewers are so bad. We're not going to talk about this one game. And then they ended up going to fantasy football talk instead of talking about the miserable Brewers of 2014 that just coughed up a division title in front of us.
It was a rough time.
All right. So memorable moments. I'm pretty sure we're going to have the same top 3, but I was curious what your guys' honorable mentions would be before we get to the top 3.
Well, I'm thinking 2 of mine are maybe in the top 3, but I was personally in the building for them. Actually, probably all 3 of my top 3 personal ones might be on your list, but it's the Nyjer Morgan walk-off. It's Trevor Hoffman's 600th save after such a bad summer for him. And it was CC Sabathia's debut. Speaking of parents buying tickets as gifts, my mom got me a ticket to that game. I sat right in front of the press box, actually, in the family section of the Loge, and just really enjoyed that experience. The electricity of getting that guy to come to join the Brewers in that trade, and obviously what he eventually ended up doing for the rest of 2008. But just that moment in the stadium, those are my top 3 most memorable, because again, I was there for all of them, which was kind of neat.
I just kind of got goosebumps because you're right about that Sabathia game. That game, there's very little like it, and it's a middle of the, it's a July game. Brewers actually probably could have lost that game. They got a break when Ryan Spilborghs hurt himself running the bases, but Sabathia his arrival was just different. It was just a different moment for Brewers fans, and it meant they were really pushing it. He was really easy to root for, kind of a larger than life character. The only thing, honestly, it's weird. The game, the 2008 finale matches, that maybe. The only other game was the final 3 games of 2018, where we knew the Brewers were going to the playoffs, but they still had a chance to win the division, which had seemed like a long shot for so long. Those games against the Detroit Tigers, lowly team on the totem pole, but a couple dramatic 1-run games. You had a home run that went off of Nick Castellanos' glove in right field, big Ryan Braun home run in the 7th, I think the 8th inning, to give the Brewers a lead. Christian Yelich hit 2 home runs in one of those games. I mean, those were incredible energy games, so electric. And obviously it maybe it's solidified in my memory because of what happened after that. But yeah, outside of the Sabathia game, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it was from before the first pitch, but from the first pitch, the whole game was just electric. Everybody was into it. Everybody was engaged. One of the only times, probably other than an opening day, where the parking lot emptied before first pitch and nobody was really straggling in. Everybody wanted to see Sabathia pitch. It was really cool.
All right, I'm gonna go with my honorable mentions. From the bottom, the neutral game no hitter from Carlos Zambrano. It is so sad as a Brewers fan that we, in this 20 years in Miller Park, that no Brewers pitcher has thrown a no hitter. We've come close, but that the 2 no hitters that involve Miller Park are not by the Brewers, and one of them is in a no neutral game.
You know what? They haven't come that close. That's the thing. The Brewers haven't come close. They've had a couple guys get into the 8th inning.
That's what I kind of meant by close.
I mean, that's fine, but that happens only once in a great while. I mean, they have just had outside of just 1 or 2. There's only 1 game in all of Brewers history, going back to County Stadium. There's only 1 game where a guy got a no-hitter into the 9th and got an out in the 9th. That's crazy. Odell Jones, random name, is the only guy to have gotten that close, outside of course, the no-hitter that Juan Nieves threw, on April 15, 1987. So man, they just haven't had chances.
And the CC Sabathia one in Pittsburgh.
Well,
get screwed.
that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other ones I have is the CC trade, the tie game during the All-Star game in 2002, Bill Hall's Mother's Day walk-off, Ben Sheets 18 Ks, Prince Fielder, Ricky Weeks hitting their first home runs in 2006 against the Twins. And I put the streaking Milwaukee Brewers of not just 2018, because the 2018 team is the one that we kind of all know about, in terms of the 12-game winning streak that included the playoffs. But I also said a 10-game win streak that the Brewers had in 03 as well. That included the Reds, Pirates, and Phillies.
That was a wild time.
Yeah. And then that final week of 2008, which was there's some pretty memorable home runs, obviously Braun's home run, but his grand slam, Prince Fielder's walk-off, Ricky Weeks had a big home run in that Cubs series, and I think game 1. And I'm pretty sure like we'd have the same top 3 in terms of memorable.
I did find that Twins, the Ricky Weeks Prince Fielder first career home run, that was a very memorable game. One of the more memorable games that I've covered. Prince Fielder hit 2 home runs in 2015. In 2005, and they were both amazing. There was that one, and then there was a walk-off home run against Jose Mesa to take a loss and spin it into a win against the Pirates. So pretty dramatic. Definitely announced his arrival in probably the grandest fashion he could. So that's pretty good. I mean, anything in 2008, the Spathia debut we've talked about, the Pittsburgh, the grand slam, walk-off grand slam from Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder hitting a walk-off home run against Pittsburgh earlier in that series, that whole Cubs series, including the opener with Seth McClung's 4, yeoman-like innings to keep things in check. Great 4 innings of relief. That was the last game of Ben Sheets that Saturday. He kind of fell apart, got hurt, wasn't able to pitch in the postseason. So there's some heartache baked into that as well. But 2008 in general was a pretty solid run. And I mean, you could there's a lot on this list. You could go with like Zach Greinke's debut. You mentioned the 18 strikeout game from Ben Sheets. That was obviously incredible. And great mention on the Hoffman 600th save. Comes in the context of a season that isn't that important, but that was, for the moment, that was awesome. What an awesome time that was.
Yeah, I'll throw in one more thing that I was thinking about. Corey Hart's debut. He was.
Oh yes, absolutely, great call.
He was that first, because JR was talking about how Ben Sheets wasn't really the wave of prospects, but Corey Hart, that was the start of that era of Brewer success.
100% true.
The buzz that the stadium had, and that was really before social media really took hold of everything. But there was a lot of just person-to-person conversation in the ballpark. Just a lot of, people, you've heard of this guy? No, tell me about it. So a lot of people knew who he was. And it was really one of the first guys that people knew who he was, knew who this prospect is coming up. He's supposed to be the front tip of this iceberg, and there's so much more coming behind him. It was really a cool day at Miller Park for sure.
I still think that's the most famous foul ball in Miller Park history. Corey Hart struck out in his first at bat and then went right back down. He didn't debut again. He didn't appear again until the next year. And he homers. He actually homers in his first game back, but hits that fly ball. I don't remember who was pitching. I want to say it was maybe Kazi Shi. That wasn't it. I forget. But he hits a long gone ball. It's just foul. Place goes nuts. Gives him a brief standing ovation because they're so excited, even though it's a foul ball. They're so excited to see these guys get here. And of course, he strikes out. It doesn't really matter. But yes, what a weird moment in the context of a loss in a season that didn't really end up mattering. But I love that moment. I've talked about it before. That's a low-key great time.
I'm going to throw in one of my other ones is 2007. The Brewers were eliminated from the playoffs. It was the second to last game of the season. Brewers are playing, I think it might have been
Cardinals. Wasn't it?
Oh man, who were they playing? All I can remember is Vinny Rotino and Tony Gwynn.
Oh, the Padres.
Padres. Yeah, that one kind of sticks. As I guaranteed, like the first time in forever that the Brewers were above 500.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that moment because Tony Gwynn, obviously the son of a legend who grew up playing with Trevor Hoffman, or I should say, grew up in the clubhouse with Trevor Hoffman because he was around his dad. Hoffman came up with the Padres, obviously played with them forever. Hoffman's the guy who gives up that line drive. I think that was a triple from Tony Gwynn to blow the save. Hoffman blew the save that day, and the Padres were really looking to get into the playoffs. They win that game. They clinch a playoff spot. They didn't end up getting it. They wound up in a tiebreaker with the Rockies that were in the middle of their Rocktober craziness, and they end up losing that. That was a very famous tiebreaker game. But Tony Gwynn, down to their last strike, 2 outs in the 9th, he triples, drives in the tying run to force extras, and then you get Vinny Rotino's winner in the 11th. I mean, that was wild. I actually asked Trevor Hoffman about that when he came back for the Wall of Honor ceremony with Milwaukee. Just thinking back to that moment, that was obviously before he played for the Brewers, and just a crazy bit of serendipity that it's Tony Gwynn, this kid that he saw grow up in Padres clubhouses, and it winds up burning them. Much more memorable for the Padres than the Brewers. I was pretty sure they were going to wind up at 500. They wound up winning that game, winning the next one. So they actually officially, like you said, got above 500 for the first time. They had gotten to 500 in 05. That was a big deal. But you're right. 07, that was low key a milestone too. A crazy finish that not a lot of people remember because it didn't have playoff implications for Milwaukee.
All right. So I'm going to go, Adam.
I was gonna say, hopefully they win opening day to this year so that they can be over 500 for the first time in over a year. That'd be nice.
That would be very nice. Yes.
All right.
And they made the playoffs, so who cares?
I'm pretty sure we're all gonna. Well, I gotta throw another honorable mention is that Game 3 of the 2008 Division Series being the first playoff win at Miller Park.
As long as we don't talk about Game 4, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Nice little 3-1 victory with Dave Bush on the mound and Solomon Torres with the save.
A workman-like win. A lot of walks. A lot of not a lot of hardcore memories there. And then, of course, Jimmy Rollins leads off against Jeff Suppan in Game 4 with a home run, and the rest is kind of history.
2008, Jeff Suppan and freaking Eric Gagne.
At least they moved on from Gagne quickly enough, Yeah.
Okay, so for my top 3 of memorable moments, I am going my number 3, Brandon Woodruff home run off Kershaw. My number 2 is actually going to be Niger Morgan's walk-off hit in Game 5, and I'm going the 2008 final game as the most memorable.
I think that's perfect. You could arrange them. You could probably mix 2 and 1 could swap if you want, but still those are the 3 I would think of for sure.
Well, the one I have the bobblehead of it in my other room, so that's a good choice for number 1.
That one, I mean, 2008 is number 1 for me because of the drought. Because people my generation grew up not knowing playoff baseball. Just too young to really remember 82 or really have an opinion on it. And certainly just the 90s, the early 2000s. There was so much suffering, and for that to end in dramatic fashion felt like. It was a relief. It was a thrill. It was all the emotions, and 2011 was great. And I will never forget that day waking up, feeling the pressure in my chest from the start of the day, knowing Game 5 was that night. Like that was a big thing, but 2008 was truly, truly special.
I'm going to say about that 2008 game, it was weird because my dad usually watches more Packers football on a Sunday, and I think we watched more of the Brewers that day than we did the Packers.
Is that which year is that? 2011?
2008, that final game.
Oh, sure.
When the Brewers clinched. I think we watched more of the Brewer game than we did the Packers game because usually he ends up recording the Packer game. I guess do we want to go like weird promotions the Brewers have had in Miller Park history? If anyone come to mind
with any
of the Bob Uecker like radio stuff, or there's the really weird bobblehead of Derek Turnbow.
Oh yeah,
with the real hair
one.
Yeah.
I've got that on my shelf too. That's very creepy. Yeah. No, I think they've done pretty well with the promotions over the years. Some of them were definitely kitschy. The Uecker alarm clock was kind of neat. So some of that stuff's a little bit off center, but I think most of it works, especially in a market like Milwaukee.
Yeah, the thing about the Turnbow bobblehead is the game when it was distributed. Turnbow comes in and blows that save against the Mets. The place is off the hook, rocking. Turnbow's the man of the hour, and he blows the save. It was a lot of people point to that it doesn't statistically bear out, but a lot of people point to that as like the beginning of the end for Turnbow. That kind of turning point came a little later, but still just wow, what a high to low that was for Brewers fans.
Does anybody remember? Obviously, they ended up getting Cordero later that season, but it was like Kevin Mensch gets traded from the Rangers to the Brewers, and they're like Fox Sports Wisconsin cut to like some car in the Brewers
WWE camera, like following him walking into the arena. Kevin Mensch is finally here. Like,
Yeah.
how perfect that was set up. And it didn't happen, and I wish it would have happened, but it was set up so perfectly for him to get in uniform, grab a bat, make a pinch hit at the end of the game, and do something. And then he never played. I was like, come on, talk about a hero moment. That would have been top 2 moments of all time if he would have had a walk off there for sure.
The other weird ones are like Gabe Gross scoring a winning run against the Cardinals or something, and then he gets traded like right after the game.
Yeah, that happens. That's really funny.
All right, do you guys want to add some and end with something fun, I guess, or?
I'll jump in with this real quick. I was looking down. You'll notice on the video here after JR was talking about Corey Hart's debut, and I looked it up, and look who that bat was against. Nice recall there, JR.
Is that who I said? Kazi Shi?
You said.
Yeah, I knew it was either a Japanese or a Korean pitcher, and I didn't want to start throwing out names and getting accused of I can't tell apart the Korean name from a Japanese name. So I didn't want to go too off base there. But yes, on the Kazi Shi reference.
Absolutely. No, as far as final things, like I'll say this just to put it out there. The fact that we're no longer calling it Miller Park because of the sponsorship, it's cool that it lasted 20 years. I mean, how many sponsorships look at the Braves new stadium. It's had like 3 names because of corporate buyouts since they've, built the thing. So the fact that we've able to keep what was really a perfect name for so long, it's a cool part of Brewers history. And chalk it up to the Miller Park era versus the American Family Field era. And let's just, I think I'll move on and accept the fact that it's nice that another local Wisconsin-based company stepped up and put their name on the building. So, but looking forward to so many new memories in the next couple of decades. Or do we know how long the new sponsorship deal is? But
I think it's 15 years.
Christian Yelich locked up, having maybe one more go, especially if they show up with the DH here in the next couple of weeks for Ryan Braun, getting a proper send-off in front of fans, getting a nice little farewell tour would be a set of nice moments, I think, at the ballpark. And honestly, for me, having not been in the building in 2020, having a personal situation change drastically before the 2019 season, I'm just looking forward to being in the building again. I have a ticket waiting for me for opening day as soon as they get the plan approved and they can officially let people in. I've got a buddy who's got season tickets and he's taking me with him on opening day. So it'll just be nice to be back in the building at all and make a memory in 2021.
I guess, do you guys want to do the fun thing?
What's the fun thing?
So like name 5. So I would name 5 and then they'd be off the board, and then one of you guys would name 5 and just keep on going until somebody wins. Or
name 5 what?
Brewers in the Miller Park era.
Okay.
Whew.
I guess I'll start. I'll go Braun, Fielder, Hardy, Hart, and Weeks. We'll just get. I beat some Warhawk baseball players in this, and we'll get kind of deeper.
Okay. Who's second? Me or JR?
Let's go JR.
I am not going to be capable of doing this for very long. Like my brain will lock up, but I'll say Sheets, Keith Ginter, Scott Pasednik, Caleb Gindel, and Nate Orf.
Okay.
Ooh, what a moment for Nate Orf finally getting that first home run.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try to go earlier era. Lyle Overbay, Richie Sexson. See if I can stick to all first basemen. No, I can't. John Jaha. That's
Was he in the Miller Park?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh.
Did I already mess it up? Man. I'm terrible.
Sorry, man.
That's okay. I lose.
Hey, at least it's not Milwaukee Bucks. One of my last ones, I tried doing a name 5 with Pat Miller from Whitewater, and he didn't want to do the name 5 Bucks.
I was trying to stick to the position, and yeah, I guess I messed up. Stupid John Jaha. Never done anything for me.
But you can kind of keep going if you want.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I can keep going,
Yeah.
then let's go with Carlos Gomez. How many more do I need? 2 more. We'll say Brady Clark, my guy, number 27, and Mike Cameron.
Okay, Jeff Jenkins, Christian Yelich, Lorenzo Cain. I'm gonna really go random here. Trent Durrington.
Ooh,
What Wes Obermuller.
Well, Adam, you brought up Lyle Overbay, so let's do this. Let's do Junior Spivey, Craig Counsell, Chris Capuano, Jorge de la Rosa, and oh man, Bill. Shoot, I'm drawing a blank on my last guy. How about Chad Moeller? There we go.
That's I mean, that's a heck of a trade, all timer. Well, we mentioned Kevin Mensch, Francisco Cordero. Get those guys off the board. Trevor Hoffman, Francisco Rodriguez, and I'll cheat and say Derek Turnbow because we mentioned him too.
Okay. Dan Kolb. That's going way back. Said John Vanderwall, Wes Helms. I need 2 more. Salman Torres. Doug Davis.
Oh, Dougie Fresh.
Slow.
Human brain delay.
Johnny Estrada, Claudio Vargas,
Mm.
K-Rod, Bill Hall, and Gary Bennett.
I said K-Rod, just I already
Yes,
lost.
I'm out,
Already
baby.
lost.
That's fine with me.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I need to shut her down.
Let me just throw out one more because I'm third, so we can tie it off. Joe Dillon was my guy because he wore number 27 as well. That's a whole nother story for another time. But I like number 27. I follow it around the game of baseball for personal reasons, and I love the fact that a guy like Mike Trout wears it. There's been a lot of good players who wear 27, but I had to throw Joe Dillon in there. But I mean, we lose.
All right. I was gonna randomly add in JP Firerising because I actually called one of his college games for on the radio station at Whitewater.
Well, go Zimmerman then too, even though he hasn't
Yeah.
played for the Brewers yet. If you're
Yeah.
gonna do the Whitewater thing, you can mention Rotino. I'm sure we can come up with a couple other guys who played in the state system.
Yeah.
Zimmerman wears 27 also. Just
There you go.
So. All right. So I just want to thank you guys for joining me, and go Brewers.
Absolutely. Thanks. This
Thanks,
was
man.
fun.
All right. Thanks.
See ya.
See ya.